Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and an old dirt road. Are you ready to go? Today on Live Music Nation podcast, I'm your host, Jake Gill. Today we're with Darren. I'm going to say your last name, Granaas. Is that right?
Granaas.
Granaas. All right. He's executive director at the Matthews Opera House and Art Center in Spearsville, South Dakota. Darren, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Hey, give us a little background on you. Where'd you grow up and how did you get into this position?
Oh man, I grew up not far from here in Rapid City, South Dakota, in the Black Hills. Went to school in Montana and then at USD in Vermillion, South Dakota, and spent about 10 years in Sioux Falls on the other side of the state. And then I spent the bulk of my career, about 20 some years, down in St. Louis. And what I did in St. Louis was I worked for, it was actually a suburb, the city of O'Fallon. And they decided to start up a fine arts program in the Parks Department and needed somebody to do that. So that's basically what I did. I started that department, ran it for about 20 years. We did community theater, we did live bands, we had a community band, we did a gallery, the whole gamut. And it was kind of an interesting thing for the city to do something like that. Well, after about 20 years, I was ready to move on, and this position in Spearfish, South Dakota came up. And the funny part was, it was like exactly what was doing down there.
Sure.
So I decided to go ahead and jump on up and make the move up here. So that's how I got up here.
Okay, tell us about the Matthews Opera House and what you guys do there.
Oh man, the Matthews was built in about 1904 by a cattle rancher here, and Tom Matthews was his name. The William Hearst organization had an opera house up in Deadwood, South Dakota. He had the mine up there. And so Tom Matthews decided he wanted an opera house down here. And so that's kind of how that all came about. And they kind of ran it as a vaudeville movie theater, kind of fell out of fashion for a little bit, went into disrepair. They used it as a mortuary at one point. It was they made parachutes during World War II.
Wow.
They had a homeless shelter, and about the 1970s they wanted to redo it again. And there was a group that got together, decided they needed to save the theater. By that time, Tom Matthews had passed away. He was actually murdered. He was a highway patrolman, and an interesting story. George Stitz, who was a fugitive on the run, actually killed Tom Matthews in a shootout. So the whole building was bought by the Kelly family. They own that to this day. And Margaret Kelly had grown up in the theater watching vaudeville, all of that, and she wanted to keep the theater. So they struck a deal with a nonprofit, and that's how it came into being. First it was just the theater, then we added a gallery downstairs, and we do all sorts of engagement programming. Our basic mission is to serve the underserved community here in Spearfish. So we do lots of free programming and everything, and the events that we do, including movies, community theater, live music, that all goes to fund that program.
Wow. That's I love the history behind that. That's so cool. I mean, we all have seen the Deadwood series, on HBO, and just to know that it's no different than now. There were entrepreneurs and there were business people who wanted to invest in their community, and why not chain off of Deadwood and bring those acts to Spearfish on their way through, and give them, and especially as a performer, routing shows, So tell us about the current events that you guys have going on right now at the Matthews Opera House.
Oh, well, currently we're doing something called Theater on the Run, which is a progressive theater. It's a fundraiser for us. It's $35. You go to a one act in different areas of the town, different stores, coffee
Oh,
shops,
cool.
restaurants, things like that. And you're treated to do a one act. You also get free hors d'oeuvres and drinks and all of that. All the proceeds go back to us. We had our first weekend last weekend, and then we finish up this weekend. And then, yeah, then we have a couple of big events coming in September with Eliza Blue and her Kithship Collective. Eliza is a local performer who's very big around here, and she is bringing in folk music, storytelling, hoop dancing, Native American music. That's a big family event for us.
Wow.
And then in the middle of the month of October, we're bringing in a traditional country singer by the name of Kimberly Kay, who is pretty popular in the Northern Hills. And then at the end of the month on the 28th, we're bringing in a classical pianist and composer who does film scores, and he works with electronics. And his name is Philip Daniel. He's going to be with us on the 28th. He's also going to do a couple of residencies in the schools, which is something we often
yeah,
do.
sure.
We just came off of a big summer, and last season we were really cooking. We had Sierra Farrell, we had Resonant Rogues, we just finished with Sarah Shook and the Disarmers. So right now we're kind of in the middle of doing some local stuff.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. What do winters look like up there for you performance wise?
Winters are cold. It's funny though, we'll get our first snow in the first week of October, and then we'll get a lot of snow in April. This past winter was fairly dry. The winter before, we did have quite a bit of snow.
Sure.
It's cold, but it can be dry, and we do have some pretty decent days. Yeah, we do a Christmas jazz show, and I mean, I remember it was like in the 50s and sunny and just a beautiful day. So it didn't really lend itself to, what people normally think of in the Black Hills. So yeah, but it just depends. Last year was dry, but sometimes we can have, I know this April, right in the middle, we had temperatures in the 20s and 30s and just feet of snow.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Very good. How do people find out more information about what's going on at the Matthews Opera House and Arts Center?
Oh, they can visit our website at matthewsopera.com. And we're also all over social media, especially Facebook and Instagram. That's a good way to get a hold of us. We do have a mailing list, and we send out all of our information that way.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for waiting on us today. I appreciate it, Darren.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Absolutely.